I know we said we were going to wait to do this until late at night. I know I said I was going to wait to do it to make sure everybody was off of work. Well, I am sorry. This is my job. I've been at work, if you want to call it that, right now. I can't wait. Okay. I want to hop into these drafts. I want to talk some Dynasty fantasy football strategy and trades with you. So I'm sorry for this being a little bit early. I'm sorry if you missed it. If you want to come out to our next one, just make sure you're subscribed and you hit the bell next to the subscribe button. But hell, let's dive into it. Let's start answering some trade questions. Let's start talking some strategy, and let's hop into a best ball draft. Right now, we're going to hop into the $5 puppy, so we can do this on the background. 10 spots open in this if you are wanting to come out. And I mean, I think that this should be filled relatively quickly, more so just to have some fun in the background as I go through and answer your Dynasty fantasy football questions. I'll send the link out in the live chat as well if you are wanting to get to this. Andrew, Lamero, and Eric all out here in the chat already. Thank you, my dudes, for coming out. Ashton is here as well. And tomorrow's video, we'll have Scott coming out yet again to talk about some trade strategy in a little more depth like we did with our last one. We had a ton of positive feedback in that last video that we made talking about your Dynasty fantasy football roster construction strategy for this time of the offseason. We got Noah out here. Thank you, my man. Chris says, who is the best guy to buy right now in Dynasty fantasy football? That is so dependent on a few different things. That is dependent on your overall league format, whether or not you're playing in a 12-team super flex where you start 3 wide receivers, 2 flex spots, and then potentially 2 running backs there. I think that we could go and look at some discount wide receivers. We could potentially pull up a rookie that I like if you're a rebuilding roster, going and getting someone like David Bell for 2023, knowing that Deshaun Watson will be 100% good to go for the entire season in 2023. And at the same time, with David Bell, you possibly won't have to worry about Amari Cooper. But if we were talking about a contending roster where you're like, you know what, Mason, I'm a running back away and I'm looking for someone at a good price point. I'm not going to overpay. I'm not going to trade my first round pick right now. There I could bring up someone like Aaron Jones. But let's try to avoid general questions like that. I can make entire videos about that. It's really hard for me to just go through and look at such a broad range of players, pick one guy and dive into him without having anything here. And let me send out a poll real quick. If you have not dropped a like on the live stream, please make sure you do that ASAP. And yes, we are going to be getting in this draft on Underdog Fantasy. So if you want to get in this draft, just go to the link in the description. I know a lot of people say, oh, I can never get in a draft with you. Hell, we've been waiting for this draft to fill, this puppy draft, for I don't know how long now. I'll send that link out there in the live chat. And let's find our next question. Ashton says, is Rotoviz free? Okay, so y'all know, I'm sure you've heard me referencing some Rotoviz statistics. No, Rotoviz is not free, and it's pretty expensive. I will say they have good tools. I pay for it. This isn't an ad. I think we have a link in whatever video we ever bring up a Rotoviz statistic in. I'll have a link to Rotoviz down there. It's definitely not free. It is expensive, but they have very good tools. Okay, so our next one, Caleb says, Will Fuller, I know is dead, but would you trade a late 2023 third for an upside shot? If we are playing in a deep league with a lot of flex spots, I think Will Fuller would be a perfect add, especially if he does end up signing in either Green Bay or Cleveland. If you think about it, what teams could use a field stretching wide receiver that probably doesn't necessarily need a massive payday? Remember, Will Fuller was a round 1 pick. The Miami Dolphins paid him $8 million this past season. I'd imagine that he probably ends up trying to go to a team that has a pretty good quarterback, that has a shot at winning this upcoming season. Hell, I think it could be Cleveland, pairing back up with Watson. I think it'll also be the Green Bay Packers. There are a couple interesting buys. Okay, so Derek out here. Happy to see you out here, my man. Don't know if you got into this draft with us. It looks like you did not. But Eric says, fire up the mock we had the other day. My man, we are going to be doing these drafts every single day. Every single day. Let's go through. Daniel says, hey, Mason, 4-point passing touchdown startup. Are we going to go Kenny Pickett or Tua Tagovailoa? I am personally going to be going with Tua. He's in a beautiful situation. Like, having Tyreek Hill, having Jalen Waddle, even Gesicki is a good tight end to pair up with them. I think going with Tua Tagovailoa over Kenny Pickett's honestly probably a pretty easy call. G-Bus says, how can you tell if you're a contending team? I don't want to just turn all the focus here to this draft that we are doing, but one thing that I really like is with Underdog Fantasy, because they have so many drafts going all the time and there's a lot of money on the line, you know that their ADP is pretty good. So if you want to go through and just write out your team, like literally get out a little notebook, go, okay, I have Aaron Rodgers as my quarterback 1. I have Tua Tagovailoa as my quarterback 2. We have Jonathan Taylor, Aaron Jones, yada, yada, yada. And then pull up some redraft ADP. This will be a good example. We are in this redraft a best ball league right now. And go, okay, Aaron Rodgers is being drafted as the quarterback 11. Tua is being drafted as the quarterback 17, Jonathan Taylor running back 1, Aaron Jones running back 9, and going through and saying, okay, if these players actually finish here, do I win this league? Or do I have a chance, or am I a playoff team? Looking at redraft ADP will help you determine if you map out your team and where they are being drafted, if you are a rebuilder, if you are a contender. So hopefully this draft going on in the background can help you out. We'll get in another draft after this one as well if you're wanting to. I'm addicted to these. I know we've had a ton of people telling us they're addicted to them as well. And if you have not done so already, make sure you go have some fun. Sign up for Underdog Fantasy. Use promo code FLOCK when you sign up, and you'll get our Dynasty rankings. You'll get our Dynasty rookie rankings. You'll get our 2022 Dynasty rookie draft guide, and they'll match your deposit dollar for dollar up to 100%. I'm sorry, up to $100. Just make sure you use promo code FLOCK with the link in the description. And we do these live streams every single day, get into these drafts every single day. So you'll have a ton of chances to draft with me on the live stream, or you can draft just in the public lobby or with your friends, whatever you want. Okay, so let's find our next question. Sam Dog Millionaire says, I'm a contender, but got to cut one player. We are an 11-man keeper, non-PPR dynasty, not full dynasty. I'm sorry, I don't know if this is PPR or not. Cortland Sutton, Jerry Jeudy, Rashad Bateman, or AJ Dillon. Okay, so how I personally change my mindset from a keeper league where we end up having to cut someone like AJ Dillon, have to cut someone like Rashad Bateman, is I almost want to treat it more like a redraft format. It's sad to say, like, one of my biggest mistakes that I made early on whenever I first joined a 5-team keeper league back in God knows how long ago, like a decade ago, I joined a 5-player keeper, and I followed Dynasty content, and I went through and looked at Dynasty rankings, and I thought that that was going to be useful for the keeper. No. If you have to cut someone like Rashad Bateman, if you have to cut someone like Jerry, it's a redraft league. Yes, players at the very top like Kyle Pitts, we can say that those are going to be long-term assets that you're going to be able to keep year to year, and we can treat them as if they're Dynasty players. But outside of those top 3 or 4 players in your team, we shouldn't really be worrying too much about their long-term value. So I honestly think it's up to you. I think it's up to you. I mean, I personally would prefer the other wide receivers over Sutton, but Cortland Sutton goes a lot higher than Rashad Bateman in these drafts. I will say that. Okay, so Jayan says, let's get a shout out for Zachary Link and all he's doing for the Flock Leagues. Yeah, so Zachary is hosting a ton of different Dynasty Leagues, a part of the locals community. I'm sure y'all have seen the post on those. Let's find our next one. Andrew says, AJ Dillon and T. Higgins, or DJ Moore, Leonard Fournette, and Tyler Lockett. I have Joe Burrow, and I am trying to get T. Higgins and AJ Dillon. Okay, so I really like the idea of going and getting the T. Higgins and Joe Burrow stack. I actually just wrote our draft guide chapter of T. Higgins, and T. Higgins led the Cincinnati Bengals last year in their target share on a per game basis, in air yards on a per game basis as well. Like, it doesn't look like Jamar Chase is easily the wide receiver 1. T. Higgins is easily the wide receiver 2. It looks like a co-wide receiver 1A, the co-wide receiver 1B type scenario. And if you're trying to find where upside can come for T. Higgins in this offense, T. Higgins is a 6'4" wide receiver that had a below league average touchdown rate last season. That touchdown rate can dramatically come up for T. Higgins, and that would unlock upside for him. I think you probably are overpaying just slightly. If we can make this deal without trading Tyler Lockett, I would be excited about it. Okay, but let's go through. Let's pull this up. We took Jonathan Taylor in the first. Speaking of Higgins, we're going to go through and grab him here. And we are also going to be taking Josh Allen to get the Week 17 stack. This is going to be a tournament best ball league, $75,000 the first, $5 buy-in on Underdog Fantasy. But there's a large field tournament if you make the championship week in Week 17. So you do have to kind of look for game environments that you compare together. And I think here, if you're looking at T. Higgins and Josh Allen's ADP, it is going to be a unique combination with the Jonathan Taylor team. So we will go with this combo. Now let's find our next question. NFL Amazing Play says, was it smart to trade Joe Burrow for Jameis Winston, Chris Olave, a 2023 first and second in a 2-quarterback 10-team league. I don't like this at all, because if we're talking about a 2-quarterback 10-team format, what is going to matter? Upside, 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 studs, studs, studs. I mean, depth here is not that big of a deal. Like Chris Olave and the future second really never going to affect your win rate. Jameis Winston in a 10-team league as well is not really holding much value. I mean, I think you can make the argument in a 12-team format. Yes, you're excited in a super flex league to get Jameis Winston. He can be a mid to low end quarterback 2 in that format. It's a lot harder for Winston to make a difference in that 10-team league. So I honestly prefer in that 10-team format to keep the stud, keep Joe Burrow. Okay, Patrick says, I really want to take Kenneth Walker at the 102. Should I do it? I personally have the wide receivers in that tier ranked ahead of Kenneth Walker. I would prefer Drake London. Now, where I would take Kenneth Walker is if you only start 2 wide receivers in your starting lineup and then 2 flex spots. Or if you start 3 wide receivers and only have 1 flex spot in your starting lineup, so you could only start 4 players total. Now, I play in Dynasty leagues that are 12-team leagues where you start 11 guys. You can get up to 6, 7 wide receivers in your lineup. So there, I'm easily preferring Drake London, but it is a balancing act knowing your overall league marketplace and how they're going to value running back first receiver. I'll tell you, I personally would rather just take Drake London. Okay, so our next one, Brian says, I have Dylan, Chubb, Kamara, Akers. Should I trade some of these to get Jamar Chase? Hell yes. If you could trade a combination of any 2 of those players and get Jamar Chase back, you are looking to do that. And I don't think anybody's going to argue against it. Okay, so Kevin says, I traded Devonte Williams in a 2023 first for Breece Hall. Was this a good move? Oh my gosh, man. Why? I do have Breece Hall ranked over Devonte Williams in Dynasty now that Melvin Gordon re-signs with Denver, but they are in the same tier. Like, to be going through and trading away your 2023 first for that player, hell, there's an outside, like, it's 100% possible. Some would argue that it's likely. I'm not going to argue it's likely, but I will agree that it's possible. Javonte Williams is more valuable than Breece Hall this offseason, next offseason. So if we are just punting away our 2023 first for no apparent reason, oh, I really don't like that deal. I really don't. Nicholas says, rebuilding team, I want Higgins. Should I trade Kenneth Walker for him? Yes, I would easily prefer T. Higgins. Like, T. Higgins last year, 23 years old, finishes as the wide receiver 12. As we already said, led this team in target share, led this team in air yards per game. The touchdown rate should come up 100%. Yes, we're going to go through. We are going to trade Kenneth Walker for T. Higgins. The issue with Walker, he's just not going to have a role as a receiver. And that is going to be a problem. Okay. So our next question coming out from Patrick says, traded the 103 for Devontae Smith, the 108, and the 211. Is this a good deal? Okay, so the 103, you essentially traded away, let's call it Treylon Burks. You got back Devontae Smith, and then on top of that, a wide receiver we'd be looking at the 108, someone like Chris Olave, someone like Jameson Williams. Really going to depend on your league. Maybe you prefer Sky Moore, maybe you prefer Christian Watson. Just giving you an idea of the players that are going to be in that range. Great deal. I think picking up on Devontae Smith, even though he's in a horrible situation, and another one of those wide receivers in that tier is going to be worth it. Okay, so let's pull up this draft board. We are about to be on the clock. We've gone Josh Allen to get our elite quarterback, Jonathan Taylor to get our elite RB, and T. Higgins so far in this draft. If you watch enough of our drafts here, you know exactly what I'm hoping for at the 4 or 5 turn. You know who I want falling to us. This team, Dello goes Allen Robinson. Oh, yes. Oh, yes. Getting George Kittle coming in, getting the elite level tight end, and potentially setting up a Trey Lance stack a little bit later, getting DK Metcalf at the 501. Perfect start. Could not be happier about this, especially because I got worried. If you look at Kickers Lives Matter, they decided to go through with the bully tight end strategy. They get Kelsey, they get Kyle Pitts. Figured that was going to push these tight ends up the board. I'm happy to lock in Kittle right now. I know everybody and their mom screaming at me that I'm an idiot for passing on Gabriel Davis with the Josh Allen stack. I agree with you. We want to be stacking. However, I'm going to be stupid and I'm going to pass on Davis. I can't pay the price. I cannot pay the price to take Gabriel Davis over DK Metcalf, who had over a 26% team target share last year. Okay, so now let's go to our next question. This is going to be coming from CXK, I believe, CXK, David Bell or Rondell Moore going forward in Dynasty. I actually have these wide receivers ranked very similarly in our overall Dynasty rankings. I do prefer David Bell. If we're looking at David Bell, he's in a great situation, as we've already discussed. I mean, Amari Cooper, if you look at the contract, possibly gone out of Cleveland next offseason. And we add on the fact that you're not having to worry about a Deshaun Watson suspension in 2023. David Bell was a great prospect. They both went to college together, so it's kind of a funny question to ask. But no, I'm going to prefer David Bell over Rondell Moore. Okay, so now let's go through and find our next question. This is going to be coming out from Matt. Says, was trading Kittle for a 2024 first and a 2023 second worth it? I have Hawkinson too, by the way. I think this is a fair deal if we're going to be talking about price points. If it was a tight end premium format, I'd probably lean on the side of holding George Kittle. Kittle drafted in 2017. Surprisingly old, though. Like, George Kittle's like 28 years old compared to other players in that draft class like CMC, Joe Mixon, who are only 25. I don't know how George Kittle stayed at Iowa for so damn long before finally entering the NFL draft. If it's a tight end premium format, I probably hold on to Kittle. If it's a non-tight end premium superflex league, I'd be fine making that sell. Now, Sam Dog coming out says, quarterback Russell Wilson, Tom Brady, running back Travis Etienne, Javonte Williams, wide receiver Chase Jefferson. I can keep 3 of the 4 listed above. Okay, we're keeping Jamar Chase and we're keeping Justin Jefferson. I think that's easy. I think we are locking that in. Now, if we're moving on beyond those 2 players, oh, that's brutal. It comes down to Javonte Williams or Russell Wilson for me. Keep in mind, if it's only a 3-player keeper league, you're treating it as if it's redraft, okay? We're not acting like it's Dynasty. I mean, if it was anything close to Dynasty, you want to be cutting Travis Etienne. You want to be cutting Tom Brady this offseason. If it's a 10-team league or below, I'm going to keep Javonte. If it's a 12-team superflex format, we are going to be keeping Wilson. Okay. Jordan says 6-team keeper league. Oh my God. What is up with all the keeper questions as of late? Did our Dynasty community just bail on us? But okay, let's go back to this. We have Higgins, Hollywood, Eckler, Swift, Dobbins, Burrow. I have the 1st pick and the 8th pick of the redraft, first round. Who should I get? A 6-player keeper league. You're going to go through. You're going to get Breece Hall with the 1st pick overall. You're probably going to end up getting some of those rookies falling to you with the 8th pick. I'm probably going to be willing to take a Kenneth Walker because keep in mind, in a Dynasty format, no, I'm going to prefer London. I'm going to prefer Treylon Burks. But in a keeper league where we're only keeping 6 guys, it's going to be treated a little bit more like redraft. And in a redraft format, might as well just go get that running back. It's going to give you production right away. Okay, so Gabby coming out and says, how should I feel about having both Drake London and Kyle Pitts on my team and both as fairly significant pieces? Should I be concerned about a low overall production profile on the Falcons offense? Yes, you should be concerned that the Falcons offense is going to be bad, but no, you should not be concerned about having both players on the same roster. Because when you go through and when you roster both guys, or one or the other, you're essentially betting, you know what? The passing environment in Atlanta is going to be better than advertised this upcoming season. Now, you're not saying it's going to be great, but you're saying it's going to just exceed expectations. So when we're building in correlation here, when we're going through and saying Drake London's an elite level wide receiver, Kyle Pitts is an elite level tight end, might as well make that correlated bet where if the passing offense is better than expected, you're just profiting all over the place. You are getting the hit with Kyle Pitts and the hit with Drake London at the same time. It will lower your floor, but it will also raise your ceiling. Like what happens if you have both of those players on the same roster? Then all of a sudden the Atlanta Falcons fail this year, but get the 1st overall pick and have CJ Stroud next season. So I wouldn't overreact. And I may push the envelope here. So we took Kittle, right? Actually, no, we're not going to do it because Schultz has a week 9 bye. I was going to say we could potentially take Dalton Schultz. Then we would have 2 teams going with the tight end bully strategy, potentially just really throwing off the draft board and pushing up these other guys. But no, we'll go wide receiver here. We'll go with the initial plan. I got great news for you as well. If you think that I am bad at drafting these in the background as we're answering questions, multitasking here, go sign up for Underdog, use promo code FLOCK, come beat me in these drafts and take my money. I'll tell you real quick, you're probably not going to be able to, but you can try. Okay, so our next question, I believe, coming out from Vatican says, do you think Ridley will be a must start in 2023, assuming he's back? Hell yes. Last time we saw Calvin Ridley for a full season, he was a wide receiver 1 in fantasy. He was a top 5 player. If you remove games that Calvin Ridley did not play 60% of the snaps, the only wide receiver to outscore Calvin Ridley on a points per game basis in 2020 was Devonte Adams. And remember, in 2020, Devonte Adams put up his best impression of what you had from Cooper Kupp in 2021. Like, it was absurd. Calvin Ridley is a great wide receiver. Please don't second guess it. Mark coming out with a donation. Thank you so much, my man. I genuinely appreciate it. It says, Mason is spitting straight facts for y'all. Help the stream crush that like button. No, thank you so much, my man, for always supporting the channel, always coming out to the live streams on this one and the main one. And yeah, thank you everybody for being out here. I mean, we are about to pass 100 likes on the live stream. You already do so much. It's hard for me to ask for any much more. Now let's go and find our next question coming out from Jason. It says, currently I'm sitting on Dalvin Cook and Aaron Jones as my running backs with literal trash cans sitting on my bench. I have George Kittle, Pat Frymuth, and Cole Kmet as my tight ends. The Acres owner wants Kittle straight up. Should I do it? Okay. This is the perfect question, because I was about to go on a rant saying, oh my gosh, it's June 2nd. What are we doing talking about team need? Yada, yada. No, this is the perfect question, because you are not trading for team need and overpaying for it. This is a deal where you're possibly getting the bump in value moving from Kittle to Akers. That's a lateral move, or you're slightly increasing. They're in the same tier and you're filling a need at the same time. That's the kind of dynasty trade we're looking to make. I hate when people go, okay, I really need a running back, man. Should I trade George Kittle for Elijah Mitchell? I'm like, what are we talking about? No, it's June. You don't need a running back that badly. Yes, I like the idea of going, assuming it's a non-tight end premium league, which assuming if it was a tight end premium format, you would have clarified. I like the idea of shipping Kittle for Akers with that scenario. Daniel says, what are your thoughts on Kadarius Toney? Kadarius Toney is very interesting. Obviously, this is a player that has dealt with a lot of injuries so far. He just got his knee scoped as well. That is not a good sign, to say the least, for Kadarius Toney, but he flashed to an extreme measure this past season. If you're looking at Kadarius Toney, his rookie year, this is a wide receiver that posted 181 receiving yards against the Dallas Cowboys. This is off the top of my head, so please, if I'm 1 or 2 spots off here, forgive me. 181 receiving yards against the Dallas Cowboys. The next week against the Los Angeles Rams, he had 3 receptions for 36 receiving yards. On the first drive, goes down, I believe with the ankle injury, and then we don't really ever see him back to that full form. We get a small glimpse of him at the end of the season, but that's when they were throwing out Mike Glennon. That's when they were throwing out Jake Fromm, the worst quarterbacks in the NFL last season. If you look at his yards per route run, it was either 2.2 or 2.1, which is crazy. Like, the only wide receivers near Kadarius Toney in yards per route run were players that finished as top 24 options this past season, the majority of them as wide receiver ones. Toney has upside, but a lot of risk. We already talked about the injuries. Also, this coaching staff has no investment into Kadarius Toney. Kadarius Toney was selected in the first round by the last regime, and they went out and drafted Rondell Robinson in the second round, presumably to play the slot, but you do have Sterling Shepard with the torn Achilles. Toney's very polarizing. I'm sorry to not give you a straightforward answer, but it's very hard to ever even think about giving a straightforward answer on a player like Kadarius Toney, who flashed great talent last season, but also has his own concerns. Okay, so we are about 3 picks away. Allen Lazard goes to the 809. Okay, so it looks like these wide receivers are flying off. We have 4 of them. We have T. Higgins, DK Metcalf, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Devontae Smith. We have the elite tight end with George Kittle, the elite quarterback Josh Allen, and Jonathan Taylor at RB. So we're chilling. We're having a good time here. You have Damian Harris going at the 810. Oh, God. You had to take him. You had to take our guy, Trey Lance. What? Why are you doing that to us here? Come on. Why are you doing that? We took Kittle specifically to get the Lance stack. It is what it is. We're going to go ahead. We're going to fire up Cordell Patterson as our running back 2. And I think, okay, yeah. You know what? We don't have any other option. I probably prefer Dallas Goedert over Dawson Knox in a vacuum, but this is a Josh Allen team. We need a Josh Allen stack. We passed on Gabriel Davis in the 5th for DK Metcalf, so we have no excuse to pass on Dawson Knox now for Dallas Goedert. I would much prefer the combination of Metcalf and Knox compared to Gabriel Davis and Dallas Goedert. So that's why we are going to be passing on Gabriel Davis in the 5th, so we can just get Knox here at the 901. But let's move on to our next question. This one's coming out from Zaid, who says, what should I do with a team like this? We have 3 2023 first, 2 2023 seconds, Kenny Pickett, Ryan Tannehill, Cook, Sanders, Terry McLaurin, Deebo Samuel, Rondell Moore. Then you say higher. I don't know what you mean by that. Some young rookies from this draft from this second. In a 14-team Superflex league. Okay, 14-team Superflex league, it's going to be significantly harder to actually be able to get that quarterback upgrade. The supply and demand of the position is going to be thrown way the hell off. What I would say is we're probably going to sit on your picks for now. We are going to wait until about the first month of the season. If this team's showing signs of life, then we can potentially go through and look at a team that thought they were going to be contending, that maybe started 1-3 and now has no shot. And then at that point, we could try to find a value and go and trade someone like Kenny Pickett and a future first and go bring back a quarterback that's going to be able to help us for that championship push. But I would rather wait and assess where this team is 3 or 4 weeks into the season, because there's also the outside chance that, hell, what happens if Deebo goes down? What happens if Deebo Samuel and Dalvin Cook goes down? Then it's easy. Then we know we have to rebuild. Then thank God we held on to those picks. So I would want to wait. Sit on your hands right now. Okay. Eric says Amon-Ra St. Brown in the 105 this year for the 101. Okay, so would you rather have St. Brown and Kenneth Walker or Breece Hall? I would rather have Breece Hall. Go give me that 101. Nicholas says I lifted up a like. I didn't drop a like though. Oh my God, man. Don't lift up the likes. Drop those likes. I mean, 100 likes have already been dropped in this live stream, which I thank everyone for doing that. I don't know why you're all lifting them up though. Now our next one coming out from Big Boss Living says, Flock Nation, what's the best roster size for a Dynasty startup Superflex tight end premium format? Also, are you going to go 4-point passing touchdown or 6-point passing touchdown for these QBs? I have been coming around to starting to fire up those 6-point passing touchdown leagues, because there you actually have some quarterbacks that have a lot of real life NFL value getting the bump up. Guys like Brady, someone like Matthew Stafford, they're possibly going to be more valuable than Jalen Hurts in a 6-point passing touchdown league, where if it's only 4-point, those rushing quarterbacks are going to be cheat codes. So I would say I'm probably leaning 6-point passing touchdown formats at this time. And if it's going to be a 12-team league, I prefer going with about 25 roster spots, about 5 IR slots, and about 5 taxi squad spots. Okay, so Andrew coming out, thank you, my man, says, drafted in a puppy draft last night and got the ultimate bill stack. We got Josh Allen, Stephon Diggs, Gabriel Davis, and Dawson Knox. At what point do you have too many players on one team? Love that, my man. I used to think that there was no point you had too many players on one team. And in Dynasty, I still don't think that's the case. I think you can continue to build in that correlation and continue to build in those stacks. Based on some research that Hayden Winks put out there for Underdog Fantasy, because you need such a high ceiling for week 17 in this contest, it does seem like once you get to 4 players on the same team, it's detrimental. Now, I will say the Buffalo Bills with Josh Allen would probably be the one exception to that, because you're already betting that Allen has so much volume regardless. So I think it's a good start. I think it's good. Okay. Now let's pick here and then we'll get right back to the questions. This team has Lance at QB, 2 running backs, and 6 receivers. We are done at tight end. We can no longer draft tight ends. Probably not good for us to say that out loud, because obviously we want them taking someone like Pat Frymuth. Instead, they go Alexander Madison. So here, I guess, we just fire up a running back and let's just go Penny and Kenny Golladay. I think when we take Jonathan Taylor here in the first and we get Cordell Patterson or Rashad Penny, we can probably stop at drafting 5 running backs. Let's just keep it balanced. Let's go with those 2 guys. Nothing special about either or. Not too excited about either or. Now let's go to our next question. This next question is going to be coming out from Christian. Thank you, my man. It says, I just acquired Jalen Hurts in order to stack him with AJ Brown. What are your thoughts on their future together? Okay. I actually just got done writing the AJ Brown chapter in our draft guide, I believe 2 days ago now. AJ Brown, you could make the argument that he is the most talented wide receiver in the NFL. Not the most, but one of the most talented wide receivers in the NFL. He is one of the only players to average over 2.6 yards per route run over the past 3 seasons. And over the past 3 seasons, that was his rookie, his second, and his third year in the NFL. The only other player to get to that mark, not Tyreek Hill, he didn't do it. Not Cooper Kupp, he hasn't done it. Devonte Adams. Devonte Adams has been there over the past 3 years. That's the consistency that you're seeing with A.J. Brown. The issue with A.J. Brown and why he hasn't been an elite fantasy football option is because the offense he's playing in. I mean, if you look at the splits with and without A.J. Brown, Ryan Tannehill looks like he's honestly just being propped up by A.J. Brown and the overall passing efficiency of this offense. Now, with that being said, A.J. Brown's going to a very bad situation in Philadelphia. He is going to another run-first offense. And on top of this, Jalen Hurts, like I said, all this is off the top of my head, so I'm sorry if I get one or two details wrong. Please bear with me. Jalen Hurts had 6 games where he threw over 200 passing yards last year. 6. So the passing volume is not going to be there, just like you had in Tennessee, but A.J. Brown could overcome it in Tennessee because he was going up against Nick Westbrook-Akeen for a second option. Now he's going to go up against Devontae Smith. Now he's going to be going up against Dallas Goedert. So I think while A.J. Brown may be a top 5 wide receiver in terms of his raw talent, it's hard to get there from a fantasy football standpoint because we don't expect the passing environment to be friendly for wide receivers whatsoever. Now, if we are stacking Jalen Hurts and A.J. Brown together, I like it because, as we've already said, Jalen Hurts has that rushing upside. He can be a top 5 quarterback without being a good NFL passer in fantasy football based on his ability to get to 60 rushing yards a game. And if somehow, some way, A.J. Brown, just by his raw talent, is able to elevate this overall passing offense, hell, there's a lot of upside with that stack. Okay, so let's go find our next question here. This one's going to come out from the Bill Willie Chicks, who says, Dynasty Superflex, which side would you take? Michael Pittman or Darnell Mooney, Cole Kmet, and the 2 future thirds. I will say this deal, in my eyes, looks fair. Now, I am broken. I don't know why. I have some deep down bias against Michael Pittman Jr. Michael Pittman Jr. had 26% of his team's target share last season in Indianapolis. That's great for a year 2 wide receiver. That's fantastic. Now, at the end of the day, he was a high-end wide receiver 3 from a fantasy football standpoint. Yes, a lot of people want to assume that Matt Ryan makes this offense a lot better. I don't see it because Matt Ryan's 37 years old, and Indianapolis was already top 10 last year. Top 10 in points scored last season. Are we sure? Is Matt Ryan getting them top 5? Is Matt Ryan jumping them up over the Chargers? Like, no, I don't think the offense is going to be that much better. I will say you have to go with Michael Pittman, because Michael Pittman has way more dynasty trade value than this. Like, look at where Michael Pittman goes in these best ball leagues. Like, this isn't even taking it into account that Michael Pittman's only in his 3rd season. And Michael Pittman Jr. is consistently going here at the 306. Like, over players like Keenan Allen, over like Jalen Waddle. I personally think it's ridiculous. But hell, we have to acknowledge that's where the market is. And we have to acknowledge, yeah, there is a reason. I mean, look at that target share. There's a reason people are excited. Okay. Ashton says the Browns would only save $8 million and have $15 million dead cap if they cut Amari Cooper in 2023. I thought that same thing when I looked up that contract on SportTrack. I don't know if SportTrack has an issue or a glitch with the Amari Cooper contract, but if you just type how much money would the Cleveland Browns save by cutting Amari, essentially none of that contract's guaranteed anymore. I don't know if the Dallas Cowboys paid for it. I don't know exactly how that worked, but no, they could cut Amari. I had that same thought process there whenever I went through that with you. Okay, so this team here has to go tight end. I mean, getting Albert O, getting Irv Smith Jr., getting Cole Kmet, making it to a pick 143. I feel like you have to take them. If they take Jamison Crowder just to piss me off, I'm flipping my desk. Obviously, we want Jamison Crowder to get the double stack with Josh Allen. Okay, yeah, he goes Cole Kmet. So here, I think we're probably going to go wide receiver, running back. I think we want to continue to bring in respectable running backs. So we could stop at 5 of these guys. So we'll go Darrell Henderson at pick 147, get Jamison Crowder to get the double stack with Josh Allen at quarterback as well. Really like this team. I really like this team. And I say this all the time. You see it on the ticker below, but somehow, some way, people watching this live stream, people watching this video, have not signed up for Underdog Fantasy, are not having fun in a fantasy football draft with money on the line at 9 a.m. every morning like I am. Like, fix your life. Go sign up for Underdog Fantasy. Use promo code FLOCK. Get in these drafts with us. You can find the link in the live chat. So much fun. And you get our rankings. And you get a 100% deposit match. And you support this channel more than you'd ever believe. Okay, so now let's find our next one. Kyle says, 508 and a Superflex tight end premium startup. Win now. Tyreek Hill or Derrick Henry. I'm going to prefer Tyreek. Both players are the same age. If we're talking about upside for this season right now, yes, you're going to prefer Henry, but hell, I'm worried with how Henry's going to age. Derrick Henry's 28 years old, and he turned 28 a while ago. Like, Derrick Henry will be 29 by the end of this season. With that workload, with the fact that he wins by getting 27 touches a game, give me Tyreek Hill. Timmy says, traded earlier in season, Joe Mixon for the 102 this year and a first round pick next year. Great deal. Ended up then trading DK Metcalf for the 101 this year to secure Breece Hall. Took Garrett Wilson with second pick. Did I overpay? No, you did not overpay whatsoever. Great trade. Okay, let's recap this. DK Metcalf for Breece Hall. 10 out of 10. And I took DK Metcalf at the beginning of the 5th round in this draft. Then moving on from that, looking at you trading Joe Mixon for the 102 in a future first, that's a great deal as well. Joe Mixon drafted in 2017, going into year 3 of his second contract. Now, I will say, I would not have taken Garrett Wilson at the 102. I would have taken Drake London. I don't think Garrett Wilson is even in play there, but overall, great value. Okay, so Christian coming out with the donation. Thank you, my man. Says, I swear I saw you at a barbecue spot in McKinney, Texas, Hutchins Barbecue. Okay, so maybe you did. I don't know if I ever went to that exact barbecue. I don't know where McKinney, Texas is, but I grew up in Texas for quite a while. I'm moving back to Texas in a couple weeks. Small chance. I'll say, if you ever see me in public, which happens occasionally, come tell me hi. I'm not that rude, I promise. But Gabriel Davis versus Van Jefferson. You go Gabriel Davis easily. I mean, with Gabriel Davis, 201 receiving yards, 8 receptions, 4 receiving touchdowns against the Kansas City Chiefs in that overtime playoff game last year, which, yes, we cannot overrate that one performance just because everybody was watching it, just because he looked fantastic. But still, you have about 180, 190 targets leaving with the combination of Cole Beasley and Emmanuel Sanders outside of Buffalo this upcoming season. Gabriel Davis, easily. Even if Allen Robinson didn't sign in Los Angeles, I'd still prefer Gabriel Davis. Okay, so now our next question coming out from Steven says, I just joined a 32-team Dynasty League. 1 running back, 2 receivers, 2 flex, 1 super flex, 2 defensive linemen, 2 linebackers, 2 defensive backs, the team composition. I already got 2 running backs with Dalvin Cook and Alvin Kamara, and wide receiver 1 with Brandon Ayuk so far. I will say. Okay, no, this is just super flex. Okay. I didn't know if you had to start 1 quarterback and then have a super flex spot. I was going to say the first 32 picks should be quarterbacks, but it looks like you don't have to start a quarterback, which is going to be fine here. I wish I could help out my man, but despite a lot of people asking me to get into Devy Dynasty Fantasy Football and start making content there, I am already working like 80 hours, and I'm not exaggerating at all. I'm already like 80 hours a weekend just pumping out Dynasty content, doing research, and writing draft guides and doing live streams, everything I can. I'm already trying my hardest with these offensive players to have a better understanding of every single guy, which I'm sure y'all can almost tell. Like, if you bring up any player, I can list off like 20 different metrics off the top of my head on said player from last season, the year before. Like, I focus all my attention on this. And for that reason, I don't do IDP. I want to be the best in the world at this one thing that I do in particular. And doing IDP would mess that up. So I'm sorry, but I'm not going to be able to be a big help there. Okay, so now let's go to our next question from Daniel. Says, Malik Willis, Carson Wentz, or Daniel Jones? I'm going to go Daniel Jones. Daniel Jones has the team investment. Daniel Jones has the overall coaching staff upgrade. Daniel Jones has rushing upside at the same time. And he has a pretty good wide receiver, pretty good running back playing alongside him. I'm not too excited about going through and getting Malik Willis. I don't think Malik Willis really ever starts outside of like 6 games throughout his NFL career, if you look historically at what 3rd-round quarterbacks are. Okay, so now we are on the clock. Do we just go... We're going to continue to go wide receiver, running back, wide receiver, running back. Let's go with Robbie Anderson, who had 110 targets last season. You have really nobody else there in Carolina. And then we'll go James Robinson as well here. Maybe you make the argument we want to go Matt Ryan and pair up Matt Ryan with Jonathan Taylor. Fair argument to make. When we take Josh Allen in the 3rd, though, we already have so much invested into Allen. I think we can just almost punt our quarterback too. Okay. So now let's find our next question. This one's going to be coming out from the Football Therapist. Says, I'm a contender with 3 2023 first, 2 projected to be late. Non-superflex, would you trade 2 late first? I hate calling them late or early. It's June 2nd. We don't know if they're late. We don't know if they're early. Please don't try to project these picks that far out. Trading 2 future first for CeeDee Lamb in a non-Superflex format. It's a fair price point. If it was Superflex where we had Bryce Young, CJ Stroud in the player pool, not only being intriguing picks themselves, but also pushing other talent down the board, then I would say no. In a one quarterback format, I think it's interesting. I think it's definitely interesting. I mean, with CeeDee Lamb, this is a player that had a 22% team target share last season. No Amari Cooper, no Cedric Wilson, opening up like 180 targets in the offense. Michael Gallup, significant injury. I think there's a strong argument to be made. Okay, so Alberto says, you're addicted to drafting, and I'm addicted to your live streams. It works out. Thank you, my man, for always coming out and hanging out with us in the live stream. I appreciate it. And now Derek says, a best part about Underdog is no group chat. Saves from listening to the participation trophy generation cry about everything. My man, I think it would be nice to have a group chat in Underdog. Obviously, you can't have a group chat for a couple different reasons, mainly collusion. But I think it would be fun to just go, oh, LOL. I know you're wanting Gronk. I saw you have Brady and Mike Evans. I'm happy to snipe you on them and get some trash talk going. Okay, so Jack says, do you think Kenneth Walker will increase his value over this season? His ADP already feels steep, and he most likely will split carries with Rashad Penny. Rashad Penny's on a one-year deal, and also Seattle has 4 first-round picks over the next 2 years, so it's very easy to see how Kenneth Walker could increase his overall dynasty value going forward. I mean, think about what rookie running backs have to do to see a bump up in dynasty value. What did Javonte Williams do last year? Someone please answer me. What did Javonte Williams exactly do last season? Split the backfield with Melvin Gordon, flashed on occasion, was efficient. Those were the 3 things. And now we've seen Javonte Williams at times this offseason. He's not going in there anymore with the Melvin Gordon re-signing, but we saw at one point Javonte Williams be a first-round starter pick. He is a better prospect than what you had with Kenneth Walker. Javonte Williams can catch the ball. But just bringing up Javonte Williams to show that even if somehow, some way, which probably won't happen, but if somehow, some way Rashad Penny stays healthy and Kenneth Walker still splits the backfield, Kenneth Walker can still increase in dynasty value just by flashing talent and knowing that Rashad Penny's on a one-year deal. Okay, so Jesse says, should I trade Dalvin Cook, Melvin Gordon in a future first for Javonte Williams and Damian Harris? Okay, Damian Harris, I am not too excited about going and getting him whatsoever, unless it's a non-PPR format. Non-PPR format, yes. I would honestly hold on to Dalvin Cook, Melvin Gordon, and the first, though. And Zach says, should I trade Deebo Samuel for James Cook in 2 future first? This is a PPR Superflex format. Yes, in a Superflex league, knowing how valuable those 2023 first-round picks will be, 100% I'm going to go through and I'm going to trade Deebo Samuel for James Cook and 2 future first. With Cook, I don't necessarily think he's a great running back, but he lands in the perfect scenario where it doesn't matter if he doesn't have the size to be a 3-down bell cow. You know that he's going to be hyper-efficient on a per-touch basis in Buffalo. So yes, I would make that deal. And real quick, if y'all have not done so already, please go down there, drop a like on this live stream. I said at the beginning, if we got 150 likes on the stream, we would get another draft going after this one. It looks like we are going to get 150 likes, so we'll get one more draft going after this. If you want to get into a draft with us, whether it's today, tomorrow, the next day, we're drafting these every single day. Make sure you go sign up for Underdog Fantasy with the link in the live chat, the link in the description. Use promo code FLOCK. Literally, if you want our rankings, go sign up on Underdog Fantasy. Deposit $10. You get our dynasty rankings, our redraft rankings, our rookie rankings, a 130-page draft guide breaking down this year's rookie class. It's literally a $50 value. People buy that stuff for $50. You're getting it for $10 as long as you use promo code FLOCK on Underdog Fantasy. And they're matching your deposit dollar for dollar up to $100. So you're essentially getting it for free. Okay, so now let's move on to our next one. And this is coming out from Kenneth. It says, auction versus snake draft startup. I went through my little auction phase. I did, I will admit. And I didn't dig it as much. I prefer a slow startup. That way you can go through and you can make trades. The issue with an auction is trades are really stagnant. Like, what kind of deal are you going to be making? Unless it's a slow auction where halfway through you can say, okay, yeah, I bid on Joe Mixon for 16% of my budget and crap, I'm out of money. I need to go sell him for 13% of my budget or vice versa. Yes, you can make deals like that, but it doesn't happen nearly as often. It's just a regular snake league. Okay, so is this team on auto? I think this team is on auto draft. So it looks like what we're getting Jared Goff. I think we have Amon-Ra St. Brown, don't we? Yeah, we have Amon-Ra St. Brown. So we are going to be bringing in Jared Goff here, getting that stack. And outside of Goff, I don't know who else we want. Like, I wonder if we should bring in a 6th RB. Yeah, because we can still go through and we can still get an 8th wide receiver and I think be fine. You're going to see James Robinson miss the beginning of the season. Do we want... F it. I know most people would say that this is stupid, that we should just go ahead and grab another wide receiver here and draft 2-5-9-2. I understand. It's what a smart person would do, but I'm not a smart person. So instead, we are going to be grabbing a wide receiver with our last pick. Let me go through and queue these players up. I'm going to set up another draft for people who want to get in. They can get in, and also we'll be doing this in the background as I answer more questions. But let me just make sure we have this set up for everyone. Okay, got that queue going. Let's pull up. And we are going to hop into the puppy draft. So if you are unfamiliar with Underdog Fantasy, I'll explain this as quickly as possible. $5 buy-in. First place gets paid. Second place gets paid. 111,000 entrants, though. So what they do is they take a small percentage of every league pot and they set it aside for a massive tournament at the end of the season where you have 75,000 for first, 40,000 for second, 25,000 for third, and so on. And you enter into that tournament by getting either first or second place in your 12-team league. So let's go ahead and let's enter. I'm going to draft like 150 of these teams. Like we've already drafted a ridiculous amount. Okay, so there are 2 spots open. I'm sure that they're going to be taken right away. And let's find our next question. Coming out from Aiden says, I traded Jonathan Taylor and Devonte Adams for Joe Mixon, T. Higgins, Elijah Moore in 2 future first. Okay, interesting here. Jonathan Taylor versus Joe Mixon in 2 future first. Give me Jonathan Taylor. I'm sorry, give me Joe Mixon in the 2 future first. I apologize. And then Elijah Moore and T. Higgins versus Devonte Adams. I actually like this deal. I thought I was going to say, oh no, oh my gosh, horrible, horrible. How could you ever in a million years think about trading away Jonathan? No, this is a fine deal. This is a good one. Going and getting Joe Mixon, a couple extra future first at the same time. Now let's find our next question coming out from Steven. Says, in a 10-team Superflex PPR format, I have Mark Andrews and Travis Kelce on my roster. I've been offered a 2023 first and Keel Herbert for Travis Kelce. I already own David Montgomery as well as 3 2023 first already. I don't really care about Keel Herbert. I don't care that you're getting the handcuff to your running back in David Montgomery. It's essentially, would we prefer Travis Kelce or a 2023 first? This is important in a 10-team Superflex format. So in a 10-team league, on average, that pick is going to be earlier than what you'd expect in a 12-team format. And on top of that, since it's Superflex, we can assume that you have Bryce Young. We can assume that you have CJ Stroud at the top of the draft board. So let's just go through this scenario. Who are the top prospects that you have next year? Bijan Robinson, Jackson Smith and Jigba, CJ Stroud, Bryce Young, Jahmyr Gibbs, and there are a couple other, like, we're just kind of giving an idea of how talented this class is going to be next year. Those are just say 5 players. You can make the argument that a 6th guy deserves in that second tier. So you have a 50% chance of getting one of those options by making this trade. If it's a non-tight end premium format, yes, we're going to make the deal. Okay, so now our next question coming out from Gray Otter says, I have Russell Wilson and I feel like I don't need him anymore. Any running back steals that you can think of in a PPR format? I'm assuming you're talking about a 12-team Superflex league. If that is going to be the case and we are looking to move on from Russell Wilson, there are not too many running backs that I'm excited about trading him for. Like, I'd trade him for Breece Hall. I'd trade him for Javonte. Trade him for Najee. I'd trade him for... Okay, I know people aren't going to agree with this, but you do you, I'm going to do me. I trade him for Swift. Like, that's probably the list of RBs that I'd move Russell Wilson for in a 12-team Superflex format. Like, we're not moving Russell Wilson for Joe Mixon or anything. Okay, Mark says, I love going the hero running back strategy, getting at least 1 running back in the first 2 rounds, and then smash 5 wide receivers over the next 6 picks. 100%. I think that's the most common strategy on Underdog Fantasy, is going with the hero running back, anchor running back, whatever you want to call it. Alberto says, AJ Brown at the 204. Vatican says, we already answered Vatican's question. I'm assuming he's spamming the chat here. Austin says, just made a trade in my Dynasty format in a 1 quarterback, 3 flex, 10-team league, then doesn't say what the trade is. Bobby says, with only 3 years left, would you trade your 205 for $1,000 fab, which is the max fab budget? I hate questions like this because regarding Dynasty waivers, it is going to be so dependent on your overall league format. Like, think about it. If you're playing in a Dynasty league where, say, it's a 10-team league where you start 10 guys, or it's a 10-team league where you roster 22 players, your waiver wire would look dramatically different. Let's just go through the math. 10-team league, you start 12 players. That's 220 guys on active rosters. Whereas if it's going to be a 12-team league where you start 28 players, that's 336. It's the difference of 116 players that would be versus wouldn't be on waivers. So I apologize, my man. That is way too complicated of a question for me to answer. I would love to answer it, but I need more details. Okay, so Willie Cox says, if I'm a contender, would you trade for 2023 first now or after this season? It depends on the price point. I think trading for 2023 first-round picks, even on a contending roster, makes sense because you'll be able to leverage those 2023 first-round picks and do exactly what you need through trade during the season. Wookie says, for Dynasty, I want to trade Keenan Allen away, but not sure what I should be asking for. What type of player should I be asking for in a 12-team Superflex half PPR format? Okay, so real quick, actually, we are about to be on the clock. Let me make our pick here. Let me give a shout out to some people in the draft. We have Thomas out here. Of course, always love seeing Thomas. Thomas ended up getting Jamar Chase at pick 6. We got Flocking Up, my dude. Clutch Cow as well. Okay, CeeDee Lamb went at pick 3. That's how you actually ended up getting some of these players falling down. Interesting. We're going to go Evans here. The reason we're going Evans is not because I think Mike Evans is a much better player than Deebo Samuel. I think they're in the same tier. And if you look at Mike Evans and his ADP at the 1-2 turn, and you look at the fact, Travis Kelce's ADP at the 1-2 turn, and you look at the fact that Mike Evans goes in the middle or late second, it's going to be a combination that not many people have. I also like the idea of getting the potential Brady stack there in the 7th. Okay, so let's find our next question. Derek coming out says Sky Moore or Hunter Renfrow. I have Patrick Mahomes currently in a slow draft. I also have Deebo Samuel and Hunter Renfrow. Deebo are supposed to have a game 17 correlation. Okay, so you're talking about not Dynasty. If it's Dynasty, we're going to go Sky Moore. If it's going to be a redraft best ball underdog format where it is that tournament where we care about that week 17 correlation and you have that between Deebo and it's up to you, my man. I hate to give you that answer, but I do think it's up to you. Zach says, should I trade Deebo Samuel for James Cook in 2023 first? Yes, we already answered that. Our next question coming out from Jarrett, who says, Greg DeLuce and Elijah Mitchell for Brandon Ayuk. What do you think of this deal? I think Greg DeLuce, very little value. Yes, he was an intriguing prospect overall. He's like a 4th round rookie pick. His odds of ever really doing anything, just absolutely nothing. And if we're looking at Elijah Moore versus Brandon Ayuk, Brandon Ayuk was the wide receiver 16 on a points per game basis his rookie season. Brandon Ayuk had like a 22% team target share his rookie year. Obviously got put in the doghouse at the beginning of this past season. I don't know why. I don't know what happened. But I like buying low on Ayuk. They go out there and they spend a top 100 draft pick on Tyrion Davis-Price, who looks like he can do a lot. I think it's up to you. Alberto says, Mason continuing yesterday's theme of drafting Josh Allen in the 3rd. Yeah, if y'all were not able to check out the live streams yesterday, which we are doing on the main channel, like I said, we do these underdog fantasy drafts every single day. We had, I think, 4 drafts yesterday, and 3 or 4 of them we took Josh Allen in the 3rd round. Like, it was pretty funny. It was funny. Andrew says, Kyle Pitts, Rashad Bateman, the 301 for Jamar Chase and David Njoku in a 1 quarterback 12-team league. Okay, I'm going to prefer Kyle Pitts, Rashad Bateman. I know Jamar Chase obviously posts one of the best rookie wide receiver seasons of all time, and you should be very excited about what you had from Jamar. Kyle Pitts looks special as well. Like Kyle Pitts and Jamar Chase, I think they are in a similar tier, and you're getting Rashad Bateman on top of it with Hollywood Brown and his 25% team target share going over to Arizona and the expected bump up with the efficiency with Lamar Jackson taking over for Tyler Huntley. I'm excited about going and getting Bateman at that price point. Okay. So now our next question coming out from Brett, who says, Nick Chubb, Elijah Moore, Zamir White, Benjamin for a 2023 first, a 2024 second, Brandon Ayuk, and Tyler Algier. Okay, so if we say Nick Chubb's worth the first round pick, Elijah Moore's worth Brandon Ayuk and the second, probably prefer Tyler Algier over Zamir. I think it's a fair deal. I think it's a fair deal and up to you. Okay, so let's go through, find our next selection here. We are going to have a very, very common pick of ours. Going Jalen Waddle here, pick 3. Yes, horrible situation with Tua Tagovailoa and Tyreek Hill there. But hell, he was a low-end wide receiver 1 on a points per game basis as a rookie. We're getting him as wide receiver, 15 on ADP? Okay, Mark says, have you liked the live stream? 500 likes for 5 drafts tonight. My man, I'm sorry. There's no way in hell we're going to get 500 likes. There's no way. We're getting 5 drafts going tonight. I don't even think, we haven't even had 1,000 people watch this live stream. Austin says, DK Metcalf, Brandon Ayuk, Cole Kmet for a 2023 first-round pick, Cortland Sutton, and Kadarius Toney in a Dynasty 10-team, 1-quarterback league. Okay, let's think about this. I prefer Metcalf over the 2023 first and second if it's going to be a 1-quarterback format. I probably prefer Sutton and Toney over Ayuk and Kmet. Another deal that I have to say is fair. It's the most boring answer I can give. It's the laziest answer I can give as well. I try to never say it. I always try to give you an answer, but I think it is up to you. Okay, so Tiz TV says, traded Justin Fields, Ramondre Stevenson, McCole Hardman, and a 4th for CeeDee Lamb and Tyquan Thornton in a 12-team start 10 Superflex format. What are your thoughts? Love taking Justin Fields and essentially getting CeeDee Lamb. You took Justin Fields and a bunch of crap. You took Justin Fields, threw on Ramondre Stevenson, just threw on McCole Hardman, threw on a 4th-round pick, which means nothing. Getting back CeeDee Lamb, that's fantastic. I think CeeDee Lamb could jump up to being that elite level wide receiver 1 this season, knowing that you have Amari Cooper and Cedric Wilson-Gone. And listen to this. CeeDee Lamb is currently younger than Kenny Pickett. Lamb should continue to improve as a talent. I know he said, he grew half an inch. He gained 10 pounds of muscle. That probably didn't happen, and I wouldn't even care if it did. But if we look at his production through the first 2 years of his NFL career, and we look at his age and the trajectory that he's on and the opportunity that's now open in the Dallas Cowboys offense that last season was top 5 in pass to run ratio in neutral game environments and pace. Hell, I like getting me some CeeDee Lamb, especially at that price point. Okay, so let's pull this up. It's no surprise to anybody what we want here. We want to get Travis Kelce, and we want to get Patrick Mahomes to stack with Kelce. This is why I'm willing to reach on Kelce at the 108, 109. I do this all the time, literally. Like, it's one of my most common picks if Stephon Diggs is not on the board. And the reason is because Patrick Mahomes technically does have an ADP of 38, which means he shouldn't really fall to us at pick 41, but he falls all the time. And the reason he has an ADP at 48 is because the Kelce team takes him all the time, usually at the 1-2 turn. If you take Kelce a little bit earlier, I guess Hunter here goes with Mahomes. It is what it is. We can move on. I guess we'll go ahead and we're going to go running back. We're going to take Zeke. I'm not going to take one of these wide receivers in this range, knowing who we'll have on the board in the next. Okay, well, let's go Zeke. Usually you get Mahomes making it to you at the 405, 404 if you go Kelce with the first. But let's move on to our next question. Josh says, what's the best choice of the 103 in a 1-quarterback half PPR format? Once we get further away from full PPR, I'll be more willing to go with Kenneth Walker. I still probably prefer Drake London or Treylon Burks with whoever's on the board. Okay, so now our next question. From Sal says, 12-man keeper league. Should I keep Damian Harris round 6, Darnell Mooney round 7, Michael Thomas round 8, or Rashad Penny round 8? I am personally going Michael Thomas round 8. I would prefer Michael Thomas. Keep in mind, a keeper format like this, where you're having to let go of players like Darnell Mooney in the offseason, is more like redraft than it is dynasty. I'm treating it more like a redraft league than I am a dynasty league. With that being said, hell, just sign me up for Michael Thomas. Yes, a very low floor, a very high ceiling. If, for whatever reason, he doesn't play football this year, if he does just come out and bust yet again, I got great news for you. It's a keeper format. Just don't keep him next year, and you're good to go. So I would go with Michael Thomas round 8. Now, Jason coming out says, offered CeeDee Lamb for Aaron Jones and A.J. Dillon. Should I pull the trigger? Yeah, I would prefer CeeDee Lamb in Dynasty. I know that's crazy to say. I would prefer CeeDee Lamb. Oh my God. This seems like a fake message. I don't know if there's someone spouting out disinformation about Michael Pittman Jr. I don't know if someone's being a snake oil salesman with Michael Pittman Jr. or something. Someone in the chat says, I just traded Michael Pittman Jr. for 3 first-round picks in 2024. How could this ever be a deal in a million years that someone would think about doing? How? Yes, great deal. Good luck. I mean, great deal getting those 2024 first. Michael Pittman wasn't even going in the first round in 2020. The man was a high-end wide receiver 3 on a points per game basis last season. I know he had a 26% team target share, and no, we're not ranking him as a wide receiver 3 this year. Yes, we're expecting improvement, but there are very few players I'm going to be willing to go out on a limb and say are worth 3 future first-round picks. I don't care if it's a 1 quarterback or a superflex league. Okay. So, Noctorious PIP says, do you have any super deep sleepers for a superflex dynasty format? Currently in a 15-plus round range, looking for people to stash. Not yet. You're going to have to wait a little bit further. Like, once you get past round 20, someone I really like grabbing. I like grabbing him in these drafts as well. It seems like people have just completely forgotten about him. Go get some Samaje Perine. Samaje Perine, yeah, you have Chris Evans there, but it looks like Perine's the wide receiver 2, right? I'm sorry, the running back 2. Looks like he's the running back 2 behind Mixon. That's a massive upgraded offensive line from where you were last year. So if all of a sudden you're able to get Samaje Perine stepping into a role if Joe Mixon goes down, you could potentially for free in your Dynasty League or for free in your Best Ball League, get a running back 1. Okay. So now our next question coming out from Hassan says, would you trade Lamar Jackson for Deshaun Watson, a future second, and James Robinson in a 14-team Superflex format? I personally would. I am a big fan of Deshaun Watson from a fantasy football context. Because if you look at Deshaun Watson through his NFL career, historically, he has been more consistent than Josh Allen, more consistent than Kyler Murray, Joe Burrow, Lamar Jackson. Literally the only player you can put in the same tier as Deshaun Watson in points per game through the first 5 years of their NFL career, the only guy you can do it with is Mahomes. Deshaun Watson's floor has been like the quarterback 6 since he entered the league in 2017. That just doesn't exist with other players. I know Cleveland's gross, but so is Houston. So if we're getting a second and James Robinson on top of Watson, yeah, we're going to do that. Okay, so now our next question coming out from Birdman says, are we going to go with Dalton Schultz or 2 future first for Kyle Pitts? Here, I think it's a fair deal. I think we probably end up going Dalton Schultz and 2 future first, assuming it's super flex. Just knowing what you can do with those first-round picks once we get to the season. Okay, so let's pull this up. Kenny coming out says, should I trade CeeDee Lamb and Travis Etienne for Jerry Jeudy in one of DeAndre Swift or Javonte Williams in a dynasty half PPR format where you get only half PPR for running back and a full PPR for receiver? Okay, if you're only getting half a PPR for running back, that is going to knock the value for both DeAndre Swift and Travis Etienne. I still probably do prefer having the combination of CeeDee Lamb and Etienne. However, based on us just expecting expecting Lamb to truly be an elite level quarterback this upcoming season. And I apologize that I cannot talk right now. I don't know why. I am all over the place. I've recorded 2 videos today. We did a live stream on the Fantasy Playbook YouTube channel earlier today. And now we are in our second draft here. I am dying. And I was an idiot and did not fill up my water beforehand, which is a rookie mistake that I should know not to make that mistake by now. Brian says, Saquon Barkley in the 105 for CeeDee Lamb and a future second. What are your thoughts? Give me Saquon Barkley in the 105. The 105, come on. You're getting Garrett Wilson. You're getting Treylon Burks. You're getting Kenneth Walker. You're getting Drake London. You're getting one of those players. So, yeah, I think we would. Even though I love going and trading for CeeDee Lamb, I would prefer the package there. Okay, so I am all over the place, and I am supposed to meet my grandpa for dinner at 6:15. He lives about 40 minutes away. I am Eastern time, so we're probably about to have to wrap this up. Let me show off the entire draft board. Thank everybody for coming out. And like I said, we do this every day, whether or not we're doing a draft here, answering questions, or just firing up 4 drafts yesterday on the main fantasy football channel. The reason I do this every day is because there is nothing more fun than these drafts on Underdog Fantasy. Please, if you don't believe me, go deposit $10, use promo code FLOCK, get our rankings, get our draft guide, get our Dynasty rankings, our Dynasty rookie rankings, get our Dynasty rookie draft guide, get a 100% deposit match up to $100. And most importantly, have some fun. Get in a draft with us in the next live stream, whether that's tomorrow, the next day, the next day, the next day, the next day, the next day. We'll be streaming these drafts every single day until the season starts. We got like 100 days of doing so. Of course, thank you so much for being a part of the flock. I wish I could go longer, but I'm dying here. And actually, we have one donation I need to get to right now. Vincent, thank you so much, my man. Says, I have a live startup in 8 weeks, a 3-minute timer. I'm worried that will cause a lack of trades. Generally speaking, what is a good startup pick to trade for a 2023 first, a 5th or a 6th round selection? Here's what I'm going to do for you. I'm going to pull up our last live stream that we had. That way I can look at a real Dynasty startup board. I'm going to assume that this is Superflex, right? Because that's what our last one was. So the players that you're getting in the 5th round, Travis Etienne, Aaron Rodgers, Dalvin Cook, Trevor. Actually, no, that was the 4th. Okay, the players you're getting in the 5th, Kamara, Tua Tagovailoa, J.K. Dobbins, Garrett Wilson, Chris Godwin, Zach Wilson. If you could trade your 6th round pick for a 2023 first, yes, we do that in a heartbeat. A 5th round pick is fair. 5th round pick is fair. It would depend on who's on the board. If we could trade our 6th, I would love it. But again, thank you so much, everybody. I appreciate all of y'all. I hope you have a great day, and I hope we get to see you out with the live stream tomorrow.